Man.
One sec, I'll confirm for you when it's live. Okay, we're live now.
Let's see. Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is going to be a little awkward. Don't have my screen moving forward. I can't even see the agenda.
Okay. I'm sorry. Do you want me to go ahead and just after you call it to order, we've got a roll call followed by invocation and pledge. So you want to just go with that, and then I'll kind of point it out to you, or I might be able to share the screen. Well, but you can't see your screen anyway, so that won't help.
Yeah.
But do you want me to go ahead and do the roll call?
Okay. I got it on my phone now. I got it on my phone.
Oh, good, good.
Okay. All right. We want to call this meeting to order, February 22nd, 1 p.m. Economic Development Committee. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Present.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Present.
Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Young.
Present.
And Commissioner Johnson.
Present.
All right, you have 5 of 5 committee members present, and you do have a quorum.
All right, good deal. I'm going to ask that Commissioner Atkins do the invocation for us, and Commissioner Gage Watts do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Everybody, please join me in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for our many blessings. Help us to always be aware of the bounty you bestow upon each and every one of us. Thank you for our wonderful parish and our beautiful city. Thank you for protecting all of us during this difficult time over the last week or 10 days. We are thankful for your care and guidance and kindness. Please give us grace and mercy and faith, and help us be kind and generous and patient. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Thank you very much. Now that brings us to agenda additions.
Under agenda additions, I'm not aware of any unless you have any at the moment.
No, we don't.
Great. So all we'll need then is a motion to approve consideration of items under the Louisiana Revised Statute 42:17.1.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All right. It's been probably moved by Commissioner Atkins, second by Commissioner Gage Watts. All in favor? I guess we'll approve this by acclamation.
That'll be fine.
Okay. All right.
All right. That brings us to public comments. We have not received any public comments from electronically. We can give that phone number out right now if you'd like.
Sure. Go ahead and do that. We give them 60 seconds. How long we usually give them, Mr. President?
Public comments, 3 minutes.
No, I'm talking about okay. Well, to wait and see if anyone's coming on.
This 60 seconds.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. So that phone number, if anybody should like to call in, is 318-226-6596. Again, that's 318-226-6596 if somebody would like to call to make live public comments. And we'll start a clock right now.
All right.
They're done. Well, I'm an organizer. I'm Commissioner Johnson, so I'm trying to.
What you doing? He's talking to somebody else.
Yeah, I think he was working on something.
All right.
Yeah, he's at the water distribution location
That's
Okay.
what I gathered.
of the university.
All righty. I think that'll do it, clerk. We don't
Okay,
have anyone.
sounds good. Well, we will move on then to new business. The first item we have is Trufond Financial Services. And we do have Kim Evans on the line with us from Trufond Financial.
All right. Good afternoon, Ms. Evans.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And thank you to Mr. Cawthorn, Commissioner Cawthorn, excuse me, for having me here to present to you Trufond Financial Services and some of the work that we are currently doing in the state of Louisiana, as well as work that we will be bringing to Caddo Parish. So I would like to, if I may share my screen just to give you some overview of Trufond. Would that be okay?
Sure,
Yeah, that's
yes,
fine.
you should have permissions.
So first, I'd like to give you all just a little bit of background about Trufond as an organization. We are a CDFI, a Community Development Financial Institution that is regulated by the Department of Treasury with a mission to serve low to moderate income small businesses with a particular interest on minority and women-owned small businesses through financial support, access to affordable patient capital, as well as we provide business advisory services to these small businesses, as well as disaster recovery efforts. Trufond was birthed out of disaster in New York, post 9/11. We have been serving the state of Louisiana for over 16 years currently, and I am going to share just a little bit about the impact that we have had in Louisiana. Most recently, what brings us to Caddo Parish after a number of months of doing feasibility and supporting Caddo Parish small businesses with COVID-19 recovery loan products, such as the SBA PPP loan, as well as the COVID-19 loan product that Trufond has in its wheelhouse. We have been awarded just recently, Senator Bill Cassidy, as well as the U.S. Department of Economic Development Administration Secretary of Commerce, announced a $4.2 million investment in CARES Act funding to Louisiana. $687,000 of that is specific to the North Louisiana corridor by way of supporting a revolving loan fund through Trufond. So we are going to be equipped to make additional loans and capital available to small businesses that have been not only affected by COVID-19, but also just have other financing needs for their small business. So we are headquartered in New York, with field offices currently in Alabama, Louisiana, and Texas. We are certified to cover the entire state of Louisiana and have been working with small businesses in Louisiana for quite some time now, as I stated, just over 16 years. So this slide here, it really depicts some of the impact that we have had in Louisiana. We have lent over $30 million and made over $19 million in new markets tax credit investments in the market. 199 of those loans, totaling over $60 million, were actually in low to moderate income census tracts. And over 19 million of those loan dollars went to minority and women business enterprises. So we are staying true to our mission across the state, making sure that we reach that certified demographic that we're certified to touch. As a result of this lending and our business advisory services, we have created and retained over 2,000 jobs, to be exact, 2,256 jobs retained across the state. I want to share just a little bit about some of the products that we have. Now, while, as I stated once before, we do provide small business lending products, but we also provide business advisement and disaster recovery services across the state. Traditionally, our small business loans can range anywhere from $50,000 to $350,000. This cap is without a governing board approval. Now, we do have the ability to lend beyond that $350,000 mark. We have certain products that let us go up to $2 million through our New Markets Tax Credit Revolving Loan Fund, as well as going below the $50,000 mark. So we've seen loans as low as $2,500 for micro enterprises that had a distinct need, maybe for a piece of equipment or to help them, grow their small business. We are an SBA 7A Community Advantage lender. We have carved out a niche to support contractors, and this is not limited to construction contractors. These are any contractors that have the ability to procure, whether it be with corporate supplier diversity programs, federal government, state, or local government. What this particular product allows is for a contractor that would not otherwise have the capital needed to mobilize. We support that by providing up to 30% of the contract value in capital so that they do have the ability to get the needed equipment or cover operational expenses. We also have specific loan products and programs, business advisory programs and training for women entrepreneurs, micro enterprises, as well as disaster relief. And again, thank you to Commissioner Cawthorn. He has had a particular interest in ensuring that Trufond has the ability to mobilize our disaster relief products in Caddo Parish, as well as our True Bill micro enterprise program. Those are kind of the focal points. This slide here just really depicts some of the business advisory services programming that we have. As I stated once before, each program has an adjacent loan product that's associated with it. And so we like to say we have the ability to reach that particular entrepreneur in a way that traditional lending institutions just cannot. And that's providing them with the hand-holding that they need or that one-to-one advisement. We also offer group training for entrepreneurs, and that's through our various suites of entrepreneurial services. This gives you some indication of the work that Trufond has done in disaster recovery and relief. Since inception, we have raised over $55 million in disaster-related government assistance, and we've provided over $23 million in state-funded loans across the states that we serve. Now, of course, we're in one of the biggest disasters that known to date that's affecting our small business community, and that's the COVID-19 pandemic. Trufond has been actively serving small businesses across the state and in Caddo Parish through the PPP loan program, through the SBA, as well as our COVID-19 product. Just wanted to quickly take you through, again, since these were the focal areas for Commissioner Cawthorn, is this True Bill Micro Enterprise program. With this program, micro enterprises have access to affordable capital. They receive 15 to 20 hours of group technical assistance, anywhere from 5 to 10 hours of one-to-one technical assistance, either with Trufond staff members or subject matter experts. And they also receive access to in-person and virtual learning courses and workshops, as well as credit building products. Now, of course, during COVID-19, all of our programmatic components or our group workshops are being held 100% virtual, which makes them accessible to all small businesses. We are not currently hosting anything in person. And this particular slide here just gives you an idea of that particular loan product for a micro enterprise. So those are loans that can range anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000. Terms can be stretched up to 72 months. And interest rates are anywhere from 6 to 11%. Now, the reason why we have a range of interest rates for these particular loans is this tends to be a very risky demographic to lend to. And it really just depends on the cost of capital or source of capital that Trufond is using to support these entrepreneurs. With the COVID-19 product, however, we are able to currently offer loans at 0% interest or some as high as maybe 3% interest. And we're also able to offer no payment for anywhere from 6 to 12 months, really just to give the entrepreneur an opportunity to assess how COVID is going to continue to affect their small business. I want to just quickly take you all through some of those components. And as I stated at the front of the presentation, Senator Bill Cassidy did just last week announce the $4.2 million investment through the EDA into Louisiana. Again, $687,000 of that money, those dollars are going to be designated for North Louisiana through Trufond Financial Services operating a revolving loan fund. What we are hoping to do is partner with all of the various stakeholders to make sure that we have adequate reach to the small business owners, that we can get the word out that these dollars are available and that the federal government is making this investment, as well as what the federal government would like to see is local leverage. And so that's local buy-in and also any additional dollars that can support match against these federal dollars to make sure that we have adequate capital to reach all of the need that is existent in Caddo Parish and beyond. Are there any questions for me on this?
Go ahead, Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your time and visiting with us today. A quick question. You mentioned some numbers regarding the federal dollars coming to North Louisiana. Could you repeat those numbers? I think I heard 4.2 million to Louisiana, 687,000 in North Louisiana, but I'm not sure that I got that right.
That is correct. So 4.2 million of CARES Act funding through revolving loan funds is coming to Louisiana. 687,500 will be designated for North Louisiana through by way of Trufond.
Okay, well, North Louisiana is a fairly expansive geography. How are those, how will those funds be allocated across North Louisiana? Is it by parish? And if so, what percentage of those funds would Caddo Parish receive?
So there is no distinct designation specifically for Caddo Parish. It really will happen on a first come, first served basis. And so there is a 13 parish geography that covers that North Louisiana allocation of the 687,000. However, if let's just say 75% of that dollar is encumbered by Caddo Parish businesses because they are the first to access the dollars, then 75% of that money would be designated to Caddo Parish. That's really where our stakeholders in the various parishes come into play, is really helping us get the word out, helping us leverage those dollars and making sure that these small business owners know that this capital is available to them. And then also helping us make sure that they are capital ready. Because while the money is coming down the pipe, we do understand that we may not be able to help every small business because some of them are just not going to be ready to access capital. But we will be helping as many of those small businesses as we can with those dollars.
Well, are these dollars targeted to startups or to existing minority and women-owned businesses?
These are for existing.
Okay, so then how do these differ from the PPP loans or the SBA emergency loans?
So SBA emergency idle loans are for a specific use. The PPP, again, is also for a specific use. That Paycheck Protection Program loan is really to help keep employees employed. And so it is to replace or support payroll expenses. What we have realized and what we have been in communication with the U.S. Department of EDA around is those businesses are having some expansive needs, and there's also a cap on the amount that small business owners can apply for under PPP. So this gives them another pool of funding that they could tap into if they so need it, that they could also use beyond payroll. They can use this to support any rental payments or any lease payments, which again, the Paycheck Protection Program was not designed to take care of some of those additional expenses that we see small business owners facing.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
And Commissioner Atkins, I want to just interject right here for a point of clarification. The loan program that Ms. Evans is advancing does not preclude just to women and minority-owned businesses. It's anyone that falls in the small business space.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do we have any additional questions? What I want to do at this point is the two programs that she mentioned, even the opportunity for us to partner and the disaster loan program. I want to put forth a motion that we, as a parish, look to partner with Trufond, and upon the evaluation of the administration, to bring back to us a quote unquote program. So I want to put that forth as a motion. And do I have a second?
I'll second your motion.
Right. So it's been properly moved and second for administration and the body to engage in a partnership with Trufond.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes, sir.
qualify? I thought the motion was to engage administration to evaluate a partnership. We're not, are we requesting that they go into partnership, or are we evaluating this opportunity for potential partnership?
Absolutely. Opportunity for potential partnership upon the evaluation of administration's due diligence.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that,
Okay.
that we weren't asking administration to specifically enter a partnership. We're asking for administration to evaluate the positives and negatives and evaluate going into a partnership.
That's it. That's exactly
Great.
it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. So we ready for a vote? All those in favor? Well, we'll go down the row.
Okay,
Commissioner
Commissioner.
Cawthorn, yes.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner John Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner John Paul Young.
Yes.
And Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay.
That motion passes unanimously with 5 in support and none in opposition.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Evans. Do you have anything additional you want to add before you conclude?
No, just that I look forward to this evaluation of partnership. If there's any additional information that I can provide on behalf of these dollars, but not only these, there are additional pools of funding that Trufond looks to support small businesses of Caddo Parish. So looking forward to conversing with you all and really evaluating the partnership, and looking forward to serving the small businesses of your area.
Okay, thank you very much. And we will put you in contact with administration.
Thanks, Ms. Evans.
And Ms. Evans, I may reach out to see if you can send me a copy of the presentation you gave.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.
You as well.
All
Okay,
right.
the next item on our agenda is from Mr. Joe Kane from Carr Riggs and Ingram is here to present the seminar series.
Good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate this opportunity. What we're proposing is to do 4 webinars throughout the year, targeting mainly small business and medium-sized business, and the ever-changing environment we are in right now. For example, I don't know if you heard over the weekend, there's round 2 of Paycheck Protection. There's been a change to that program, targeting businesses with 20 employees or less with a separate fund, and that starts Wednesday.
Yep.
The other issue, the other very timely issue, is on the employee retention credit program, which came out of the act that the President Trump signed. I think it was December 27th of last year, and it's a retroactive program. And there's a lot of questions going on with that. So that I'm thinking that the first webinar would be that topic, and then work with your committee as to what you hear from the business community, also what we're seeing trends across the country. And I'd like to end the year with I think a very good one that people don't think about until it's too late, is year-end tax strategy. What are some of the changes that you can make in October? Too often people call us up and say December 1st, hey, what can we do? Well, by then it's almost too late. And work on those type of programs that really affect small business. And also talk to y'all. I think there's other organizations that could help market it, whether it's NLEP, the Shreveport Chamber, to get word out that this is a free webinar assisting with these programs. And I'm sure with the $1.9 trillion package, there's going to be some things that are going to affect small business as well that our firm will be diving into. And that could be the second webinar, but we're also open to working with you all on those topics.
All righty. Do we have any questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Atkins.
Hello, Joe. Thanks for visiting with us today. So let me be clear. You're proposing that you partner with Caddo Parish Commission to do these four webinars that's targeting with your target audience being small businesses in Northwest Louisiana. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. But why would you go through a government agency to do that? Wouldn't something like, as you mentioned earlier, the Chamber of Commerce, the Shreveport Chamber of Commerce, the Bossier Chamber of Commerce, or NLEP, wouldn't those be much more effective avenues? I mean, their constituents are business people. Our constituents are business people and others that aren't business people.
Well, John, before Joe answers that question, let me just add that on last year, I don't know if you remember or not, we being the Caddo Parish Commission and Carl Rigg partnered on this seminar to advance in the possibility of people doing hemp here in the city of Shreveport. And it was very successful, very well attended. It was prior to our COVID outbreak. And so in a dialogue with Joe, I thought it would be a good idea for Caddo Parish to do something like that on a seminar series, but not to exclude anybody in the business community. So we're going to also invite the African American Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Chamber of Commerce, the PTAC, and some other entities that are involved in these day-to-day business activities, supporting small-owned businesses. We just thought it would be a good idea for Caddo Parish to also be a part of it, kind of sort of leading the way in COVID. With my whole thought process for this year for the Economic Development Committee is to see how does Caddo Parish help our small business owners in the midst of this COVID crisis.
Okay. All right. Well, I understand. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Do we have any other hands raised?
Not that I see.
Okay. So again, I'd like to put forth a motion there again to partner with Carl Rigg and with the other business ancillary entities in Caddo Parish to put on this program. There again, based on the evaluation of administration. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, let's do a roll call vote.
Okay, Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
It's amazing.
Commissioner Gage Watts, I didn't hear you. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Can you restate the motion?
Yeah, the motion was to evaluate a partnership with Carl Rigg and Ingram, or to have the administration evaluate a partnership with Carl Rigg and Ingram for the administration of the seminar series to help small.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay.
That's some feedback in the background.
That motion passes with 5 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us, the next item on the agenda is Economic Development Authority.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Someone's got some feedback in the background. I don't know if they need to mute.
I think that's Commissioner Johnson. I noticed he's at the water distribution site right now.
Oh,
he's been trying to mute himself.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a participant in the meeting and also deal with the water situation. And
Okay.
I would like to say that all water in Southern University is now gone.
Wow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow.
Wow.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Johnson. Now, this next item is for discussion purposes only. On was last week, myself, along with Parish Administrator Wilson, the mayor, and Brandon Fell, we were on a conference call last week. And what we're trying to do at this juncture, this dates back, 2012, when we initially were engaged. Well, let me do it. Let me let Dr. Wilson kind of give you the background as to the genesis of this Economic Development Authority, and then kind of bring it up to speed to where we are now. Because I wasn't on the commission at the time.
Oh, good afternoon, commissioners and guests. Back in August 2011, the commission in the city of Shreveport was contemplating an idea to form an economic development authority. And at that time, we contracted with Mr. David Dobbs to do an assessment for us, to come up with a game plan of what that would look like. And we came very close. They were going to be members appointed by the city, but the city of Shreveport, as well as the Caddo Parish Commission, to be on this board. And they were going to, on behalf of the city and the parish, embark on doing economic development work and initiatives. We came very close to actually setting up the board at the very last hour. Some individuals were trying to change the composition of the board. And for whatever reason, some didn't sit well with others and they decided not to go forward. We had at that time about $500,000 in the budget to go for this endeavor, and the city was going to put funds into it. We were going to have a one-stop shopping concept housed on the first floor of Government Plaza for anyone desiring to do business with us, so they can go there, and then that office would be responsible for embarking on economic development ventures on behalf of the city of Shreveport and the Parish Commission. And as I said, that did not materialize. Then again, fast forward to 2019, we brought the idea up again. We met with the mayor to contemplate, we would take another look at this idea to see if it has some legs to it. And apparently we asked Mr. Dobbs to go back and look at the plan and let us know if this is the best plan since 2011. And at that time, Mr. Dobbs had some perhaps some other issues that prevented him from giving us another reassessment of it. So we find ourselves here at this present point in time, still discussing the idea whether there's any merits to it and what would that look like if we decide to go forward.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wilson. Brendan Fell was also on that call, and in 2019 we had some preliminary discussions with him and the mayor's office. So I want Brandon to chime in and kind of give his thoughts of and his process by which we think how we could probably advance this moving forward.
Sure. Thank you. And thank you for the invitation to join, Commissioner. Yeah, we, in 2019, the 2011 study that Mr. Dobbs, I think is his name, had conducted was brought to my attention and to Mayor Perkins' attention, and we had reignited this conversation about it. At that time, my assessment of his 2011 proposal was that broadly, it seemed like a good idea to pool resources for an office that could together do more than either the city or the parish could do on its own, and that in any case would be doing more than we are currently doing now. I also, an observation of mine was that the setup proposed in 2011, and I'm not sure about the politics of who was on the board, but I observed that the particular proposal had a lot of had a very large board and a very cumbersome, it appeared to me, a setup with a very cumbersome governance process. And I think there are probably simpler ways to roll something out like this, but I continue to think the broad idea is a good one. As we talked about during our meeting the other day, I think it's a good time to re-examine it. I think it might be helpful to bring in whether it is the same person or a different outside consultant to help us think through whether it is still a good idea and what it might look like. And I also think there are in-between steps that we could take in the meantime, such as simply the allocation of resources by hiring another person or two to do the economic development work, which are independent of the setup and could get stuff done. I think there are pluses and minuses of the idea, broadly speaking. I think the largest benefit is having more attention paid to and having more resources in the form of people working on business recruitment. I think a little more study is due and a little care is needed because in any case, what we, I think, don't want to propose is something that is redundant with the other economic development organizations already operating in the region, including in particular NLEP, but also BRF. And I think given the way the state economic development organization LED is set up to operate. They're set up with a direct relationship to NLEP, and so we'd want to investigate how we operate around that rather than try and change that. So I think as we talked about during our call, Commissioner, it will be good to bring in a few more potentially outside opinions on the matter in the coming months. But I applaud the parish for reigniting the idea. Mayor Perkins and I would be pleased to work together on the idea. And in our opinion, anything any scenario in which the city and the parish together spend more money on and allocate more human time to the recruitment of businesses would be a positive thing for the region.
Thank you very much, Mr. Phil. And I just want to add to that. In that conversation, we also left off with the fact that Mr. Dobbs, who was initially had put together the proposal for the Economic Development Authority, I think he's had some medical issues in it. And if I'm correct, Dr. Wilson, we haven't been able to re-engage him, so to speak.
That's correct.
And so what we did decide to do coming out of that meeting is it's been all the way, it's 10 years now since it was what he put together was proposed. And so we would propose that we take a couple of another eyes to take a few more experts, a couple more experts to take a look at what's going on right now in economic development, given COVID, given a decade has passed since we first proposed what Mr. Dobbs was putting forward. I have the resumes of two people who come very highly recommended and very credentialed. I have shared those resumes with Dr. Wilson and would like for him to review those resumes, and I've also forwarded them along to Brendan Fell over at the city. And my thought process is, in a 10-year lapse, I think there are probably some best practices that are probably being employed right now. And I agree with Brandon that maybe this could be a little bit more streamlined, with some guardrails put on it, and also not duplicating what some of the other entities are already doing. So in this discussion, what we want to do is to move forward and engage in those economic development experts to take a look at what we currently have and see what is going on right now in the economic development space, and also propose to them that we want something streamlined that won't be a cumbersome deal to maneuver and to operate. And so having said that, any questions from the fellow commissioner? Or any comments that anyone wants to insert? Yes, sir, Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that I agree with much of what you all have said. I certainly don't want to spend precious resources on developing a redundant organization, an organization that's redundant to LED, NLEP, and BRF. So I applaud that recognition, the recognition of not wanting to overlap there. I also support the movement for something streamlined and effective. I mean, you can spend, an unlimited amount of money on economic development, and there's not a direct correlation between the amount of money spent and the effectiveness of economic development. So I would encourage us to go with the rifle shot approach here if we decide to do something and figure out a way to spend our dollars in a way that will be most efficient and most effective. And as we go through this process, I would be curious to see what an economic development advisor thinks would be the best way forward. But generally, I have often asked myself whether we should have a joint city parish entity. And I think at the surface, that makes a lot of sense. I just want to make sure that we're not being redundant with our other organizations. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Atkins. There another chair member who's wants to make a comment or wants to pose a question?
Committee member?
See any other
committee member.
I don't see any other hands raised right now.
Oh, hold on. I won't say so.
There we
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, 3:30. What I want to say is, I know I was sitting commissioner when this joint program came about. It fell apart at the end because there wasn't, I guess you could say, shared expenses and shared responsibility. They wanted us to kind of put more money up, but then have less say so on the backside. And so I think if we move forward, which I think the parish needs to move forward with something, because right now economic development is dead in Caddo Parish and Shreveport. I mean, there is some effort here and there, but at the same time, it's not a strong effort that needs to be in place. Hey, and so until we put a strong effort in place and put some people that are dedicated and accountable for that, we're still going to be where we're at right now. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Is there anyone else, any other committee member?
I don't see anybody with their hand raised. I will say that I guess I officially feel old because everyone kept referring to that meeting in historical ways, and I remember that initial debate very, very directly.
That's right. You were on the council.
So I can remember the city perspective if y'all need some questions. But if that's it, there's no other hands raised. Would you like to move to the next item?
Well, I would like to say this before we move on. I think our next step forward, and Dr. Wilson and I have discussed this, is to engage an economic development expert to take a look at what we currently have and make some recommendations for us. So I will leave that with Dr. Wilson and see how we move forward in engaging an economic development expert.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, would you be willing to share the recommendations, the credentials of the recommendations you made to Dr. Wilson with this committee?
The two persons?
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to send you all the resumes?
I'd like to see you.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's not a problem. Not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
I'll get them to the clerk so he can forward them.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. All right, Mr. Clerk.
All right, next item is Redevelopment Authority.
Okay, this is another item for discussion purposes only. Ironically, Joe Kane, myself, Rachel Lawler, and former city councilman, I don't know why his name escapes me right now.
Tom Arsenault.
Tom Arsenault. We met in late December, and just to having a discussion about the Redevelopment Authority. All of the other major cities in the state of Louisiana currently have a functioning redevelopment authority, and that being New Orleans and Baton Rouge. We have one that's not fully funded. Tom did express that he gets some small amount of money from the community foundation to do what he's doing. But the biggest hurdle in the development and us moving forward with the redevelopment authority is some things need to be worked out legislatively with the state legislature. Our clerk, Mr. Everson, has some background in redevelopment, and we had a brief discussion about it. Jeff, do you want to explain the legislative hurdle that needs to be jumped over to really get this thing moving if we decide to do such?
Yeah, as I understand it, there is still the challenge in getting the Redevelopment Authority fully active in the past was that there was some personal liability for its individual board members in the way that it was set up at the Louisiana legislature. Even though it's a local act, it has to be passed by the legislature. And at one point in time, the way they set it up included a personal liability, which would add a great deal of exposure to the people serving on that board. So it was kind of hard to either get board members willing to take that risk or to limit their actions so much so that they couldn't do that. So I believe that's still an obstacle they have, but certainly have a lot of resources, and there's a lot of reason to support this idea from my point of view. But it's a good thing that a lot of communities have used to their benefit. So.
All right, thank you very much, Clerk. And it's my idea that I'm going to engage a couple of legislators, but as we put together our priorities for the legislative session for 2021. That's one of the items I want to add to our legislatures too. Whether that comes out in the form of a bill, whether it comes out in the form of a discussion, I do want to put that before them and to see how do we work that out legislatively. So if we decide to move forward with a redevelopment authority, we will have some of the roadblocks out of the way, and that won't hamper us from moving forward. Is there any questions from committee members?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have a vague understanding of a redevelopment authority. Could you give me the 1-minute primer on it? What would be your aspirational goals for such an organization?
Okay. In our two sister cities in the state of Louisiana, their primary function of the redevelopment authority is to take adjudicated properties off of the tax rolls and to put them back into commerce. And the most nuanced way they've been doing it is connecting adjacent properties together. And so for an example, if a contractor or developer wants to come in and do some housing in the inner city or in the outer city or wherever it may be located at, then it's recommended that they purchase those adjudicated properties that are contiguous to one another. And so whatever development they want to do, instead of affecting a plot or parcel of land at a time, then you can start developing neighborhood blocks at a time. This can also be consistent with economic development and other type of planned projects in your community. But the deal is to be able to jump over the legal hurdles in setting it up, and as best as possible, trying to keep the properties as contiguous as possible, so it becomes a development. And Joe also has some background in this, and if he wants to chime in and add some comments to that also.
Well, yes, I would. Thank you, sir. And part of it was the city, I believe, and if Brandon is still on, there's over 500 adjudicated properties in the city of Shreveport at a huge cost to the city. And if you could take, just like what Commissioner Cawthorn said, if you could take 6 projects or 6 properties and put them together, change the zoning that what makes sense, you do have economic development. And just use that as a driver to go into economic development, at the same time, reduce the city and the parish costs in maintaining these properties that are just sitting there. And it's kind of my pet peeve is we've had a lot of these properties out there, and it's a strain on the city, a strain on the parish. And this could be a way to flip these and create. I think we looked at one housing development that started that on one street, there was 20 plots that were adjudicated. Again, if you could take that, and I don't know how's the best way to put it out for auction or however, a developer could come in there and build 20 homes and there create something. And those homes were more middle to low income, which is a real need for in our community. I think there's a lot of positives to moving forward in this, and it would assist economic development.
And I also want to add this, commissioners. My thought process is also, as we move forward with the economic development scenario, that it may be a good idea if we can combine the two, because I think the two work hand in hand. But let's see what the economic experts have to say, whether it needs to be a venture put together, a venture that we explore separately. There. Any other questions? Did that answer your concern, Commissioner Atkins?
Yes, sir, it does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other committee member?
If I could just add, I'm sorry, again, this is
Okay.
You know, one of the things that I think is an easy way to think of this is that, you know, this is a quasi-governmental organization that has special title clearing powers. So for those adjudicated properties, it has some ways that it can dispose of property, acquire property, clear title on property that other public entities don't have. And that is what gives it its real advantage towards spurring some redevelopment. I think an easy way that I used to describe it to people is just areas that have messy titles are messy areas. You know, if you look around town and there's an area where you see a lot of disinvestment, you're going to see a lot of bad titles. So this would help correct that.
Mr. Chairman, I would encourage you to, or I would encourage us to, at least in the beginning, pursue these separately, because although there's some overlap, the means of the activities associated with success in economic development are different from the activities associated with the success in what I understand of redevelopment. So I would hate for, you might want
You
to.
absolutely, I think you're absolutely correct. And I also want to make sure that we keep Tom Arsenault engaged in the conversation, because he's been doing it to some extent, and he has a good relationship with the Chris Tyson, who's the executive director for the Redevelopment Authority out of Baton Rouge. So we want to definitely keep Tom Arsenault in the loop as we move down the road with this. And I'm friend Joe Kane and Rachel, because we did have a pretty good conversation in late December. Is there any other thing that any other committee member wants to say, add, question?
I'll just add, Chairman, nice job on pulling some of these important issues together to raise in our meeting today. And you've got us thinking about some important issues. So I applaud you for taking the initiative in doing that.
Thank you very much. Well, if there's nothing else, I will move for an adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
All right, second. See you guys in about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Take care.